no no hopu uki kamako ke ola. Ku'uwai te keo o lalo o lalo o ki vai a kanaulu. I kani mea I ki o makauna me haila. Kapili o hueva. He mai, he mai, he mai. Aloha mai kako. And welcome to this wonderful presentation of Nānā Kumu, Conversations with Robert Uluwehi Cazimero. First, I'd like to thank you for coming today and spending this afternoon with us. I hope you find it very rewarding. And remember, this is just a very little intimate setting and a discussion. Thank you to the Kamehameha Schools, Kaia'ulu, for providing the funding for this project. Kaia'ulu supports projects like ours to offer our lahui and the larger community experience where we can engage in activities that strengthen connections to our culture, history, aina, olelo, and Kaia'ulu. May we also thank Pa'i Foundation for use of this amazing facility, its resources, and its support over the years to help us preserve and perpetuate Native Hawaiian arts and cultural traditions for future generations. And we'd also like to honor, or humbly thank our board members of Wahea Foundation and the beneficiaries of Wahea Foundation, such as Halau Nakamalei. Wahea Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to preserving and protecting the fundamental aspects of Hawaiian culture. It teaches, supports, and honors the ancestral wisdom of Hawaii as inspired by the mastery, genius, and artistry of Robert Uluwehi Cazimero. Yay. So this is the second of our presentations for today. Nānā Kumu, the Conversations with Robert Cazimero, and our second one is called Kumu to Kumu, or Kumu to Kumu. And we will reflect on looking at 50 years of hula and the generations that come going forward.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Robert, and I'm very happy to have you all here. When the idea of deciding what we were going to do when it came to these talk stories got together, of the three that we discussed, this is my most favorite. The idea of talking to young Kumu who are just starting off in our line. And I have to, first of all, before we go any further, apologize if it seems like this is a love us celebration because we're from Maiki Ye. It's not really meant to be so, but in a way it is, because we all just happen to come from one glorious tree. With that said, I'm really glad that Daniel did an oli for you all, because I don't really think I need to do one now, because, you know, it's the whole idea of the next generation thing. Try wait. So, little disclosure here. I've had shingles, and so if you're looking at this beauty mark over here, it's not a beauty mark, it's a wound, but it's getting better, turning a corner. Consequently, though, it's affected my hearing, so if you talk to me, you gotta talk loud. No, I'm serious, because I'm half deaf already. So other than that, though, I'm ready to go, I'll tell you. So I have 4 of these young Kumu today. 2 happen to be graduates of mine. I'm just really happy that they could do it. And then one is, well, I'll introduce them to you as we go. So I'm going to start with no, it's not a good word, with a woman first. That's a good word. Because at this point, age doesn't matter. Because hula, you're forever young. We just graduated from high school. It was a good year. By the way, our classmates say hello to you too. So this is the first one that I would like to introduce is from a graduating class of Kumuhula Leina Ala Haini Kalama. Her name really is Leina Ala Kalama Haini after she married Sam, but I always thought that because she was a star and an entertainer, that she should carry the last name first, which pissed Sam off a little bit. But in the end, we're all good friends. So this is a student of Ūluwehi Cazimero, and ladies and gentlemen, Sky Perkins Gora. Kumu hula. We're going to stick in the ladies' vein. So, following now, this is a young kumu hula as well, and a favorite of many of us. I'm proud to say that I'm one of those people that considers her to be amazing. This, ladies and gentlemen, kumu hula. I was just going to say firm. Kumu hula Kapalai'ula de Silva. This gentleman graduated from the second class of graduates from my school, and is an educator. I know, it's just amazing to me now that the students who are teaching hula now from whatever school it happens to be, there's such a majority of really, really, really intelligent kids. When in the the latter part of the 1960s, when we started to go into that Renaissance time period, as much as we thought we knew what we were doing, let me take that back. As much as I thought I knew what I was doing, I had no idea. And then to come to this time in my life, to see the fruition of everything that we put into, like I remember several years ago, I went to a play at the University of Hawaii, and they're talking about the history, and then all of a sudden they include Kaho'olawe, Protect Kaho'olawe. And there's a scrim in the back of the stage, and they're showing all these photographs, and I'm thinking to myself, I knew everybody in those photographs. Many of them aren't here today, but I knew them, and I was part of that time, even though I didn't really think I was that much of a part of the time. The fruition of all that thought, heartache, triumph, is found in these young people today, which it includes one of my graduates. This is Kyle Atabay, kumu hula. The last one, I think Keala is probably, well, he's definitely younger than me. Keala came to me while he was still in high school at St. Louis, but anyway, moving right along. We've gotten over that, and I'm so much better at it, to tell you the truth. But Keala came when he was still in high school, and he came to my house with his brother, Kyle, and Kyle would kill me if he was here, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. So they sit at my house, and Keala was so quiet. He was just this little boy. And Kyle looks at me and goes, "Go ahead, tell him." And I said, hold on a minute, because Kyle was my friend. I said, hold on a minute. So I said, you, come with me. Let's go inside my room. So we go to talk. So I said, are you coming here because you want to learn hula? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. Then you're mine now. So we go outside. So I go tell his brother, Kyle, you can leave now. He goes, what? I said, you can leave now. You brought him. He's mine now. We don't need you here. If he wants to talk to me, you don't have to tell him. I'll tell him, or he already knows. Goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, kumu hula, Keala Chock. Okay, so grab your microphones, ladies and gentlemen, and I told them a little bit about you, but now maybe you can tell all of us, because I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to sit down somewhere. And I'll let you guys figure it out from here, because you're all so smart. Don't be shy.
Okay, I am a student of Nānā Kalamahini. I started with her. She was my first and only hula teacher. I started with her when I was 15, 16. I was a junior in high school. And back then, I wanted to dance so badly. I always wanted to dance since I was little, but never got a chance because we had a big family of 8 and could only afford stuff for the boys to play football, basketball, baseball. The girls had to stay home. When I got to high school, I walked past Bishop Hall and I saw a bunch of ladies, a bunch of girls, right, dancing. And at the time, I was a cheerleader. So I asked, and one of the cheerleaders was in there. And I begged her, please, please, can you ask her? I didn't know who Allah was. Can you ask her if I can join? Then I asked, but how much first? And it was $5, right, for the month. So I was like, okay, I know my parents can't afford that. And that was, I had asked in September. I got to come, it was either the ending of October or early November that I started my journey with Allah. And I loved it so passionately with every being of my body and soul, because it was everything I wanted. And watching Allah dance, I wanted to be just like her. I wanted to dance like her. I wanted to do what she embodied. Yeah, and I've been with, I did leave her for a little bit to experience another type of dancing, and it was Polynesian dancing. Because of the brothers and Allah, they helped me get into Tavanas. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of Tavanas, but if you could dance for Tavana, you could dance for anybody, because he was mean. He threw knives and forks and tables and chairs if you weren't doing what he wanted. But there's a certain amount of respect, and he wanted your passion to go in his way. So it, from Allah, being that passionate about hula, she started my journey on, and at the time too, when I went to Tavana, he told Allah, she's mine now. She can't come. She cannot come to you. I didn't know that until I went to hula. And Allah locked the door. She closed me out. So I sat outside crying, because Allah was my life. Everything with Allah, it meant so much to me. And to not be able to go in and dance. But she said, I'll always take you back, right? It ended up where Tavana for 6 months held me. And then he said, okay, now you can go back, right? But in that journey, I learned how to not just do motions. I learned how to become a Tahitian, how to become a Samoan, because his thinking that he instilled in us was, you don't just do motions, you become them. You live their life, yeah? So that when you dance, you portraying and making them proud that you took the time to learn how to do the motions, right? Which is also what Allah would instill, as far as it wasn't just motions you're doing. You become the story. You become the tree. You become the wind. And for me, those were very vital in my journey to becoming a Kumu, and what I put in as a Kumu. And think I'll pass it on to them.
Try again. Aloha kako. I am Kapalai'ula de Silva. My kumu is Mapuana de Silva. Obviously, I didn't have a choice. There was no beautiful find my kumu and go to hula story for me. There was get your butt downstairs, class starts at 9 a.m. I started when I was 5, 1988. And I don't think I was I know I was not the best student. That was my journey, I think. Figuring out how to be the student that I wanted to be. Not to become a teacher or to take a place in a lineage or a legacy or anything, but to become a good person. And that I'm still learning. I'm still working on that. Hula as a kid was the gamut of emotions for me. It was love, it was hate, it was passion and desire, and it was, I don't want anything to do with this, depending on the day. I ūniki'd twice, once as olapa when I was 21. I barely remember that ūniki process. I was a child. And I have a few very strong memories of it, but a lot of it is kind of faded away in time, maybe for the better. Maybe, I don't think that's what I was meant to hold on to. My ūniki as Kumu hula came in 2012. I was 29, just turned 29. And I think the real learning for me began when I started that process. And what made me figure out how to love my mother as my kumu was learning to love other kumu. I never knew how to have that relationship with my teacher until I was blessed with other teachers who taught me how to be that, how to be a kid, their kid, and their student. And it started with Auntie Vicky, actually. She was the second kumu, the second parent that I was lucky enough to be loved by. And she changed my world. And Auntie Vicky led me to Melia, and Melia changed my world. And Melia led me to Robert. I just can't, okay. That happened. And Robert comes with Manu. And all of these people have taught me how to love others that I didn't get to get close to, like the Allahs and the Mikeys, and that the people that I only have through stories, I have through my Kumu parents. That is, I think, my journey, and why, I don't know, but why I'm sitting in this chair right now.
Aloha everyone, my name is Atabay. In Halau, as many of us do, we have a nickname, so I go by Bungi. If you know me by Bungi, then I know it's through Halau. I started, you're really young. I started Halau, I started Halau in 1984 as a senior in high school. You can do the math, but that was 40 years ago. And I've been with Robert ever since. That olelo no eo, a olipau ka ike ka halau ho'okahi, I only have a halau ho'okahi. I have one kumu. The kumu before him were two of his students, Randy Num and Patrick Makuakane. They came to my high school, Damien, my senior year, and they put together a group to enter into the secondary school hula competition. And that's how I was able to meet with Robert. And after graduation, he asked me to join Halau. So that summer, I entered Halau, and I've pretty much been there ever since. So I've seen a lot. And it was really interesting listening to your journey this morning and trying to remember dates. It's the same for me. I speak in segments rather than specific years. I do remember 1984. In 2007, I graduated first as an Olapa. That was our Halau's second ūniki class, Papamaile. And then 3 years later, 2 of us from that class graduated as Kumu hula in 2010. And so as far as being a Kumu hula and students, it's only been in Halau. My teaching has been within the Halau because I chose to remain, and he chose to let me stay. And mentioned earlier that, you know, when you ūniki, it's your opportunity to run and not turn around. But it's funny to do that, so I didn't, and I stayed. And so that's my journey. I'll pass it on to you.
Aloha Kaka'ako. My name is Keala Chock, and just really honored to be here today. Sitting next to some wonderful people. Like to recognize others in the audience, all the hula brothers, other Kumu. For me, like my Kumu was saying, my journey started way back when I was a junior in high school at St. Louis. But I think that journey actually started with. Wait, what? Try again. Yeah, so as I was saying, I first met Robert back in 1997 when I was a junior at St. Louis High School. But that journey actually started way before. And it would be remiss of me not to recognize my mom, who's also in the audience today. Because if it really wasn't for her encouraging me, keeping me out of trouble, taking me to practice, I wouldn't be here today. So mahalo, Mom, and my daughter, and my niece, who is also dancing with Mapuana. It's surreal to kind of think that here in 2024, I'm sitting on this stage talking about being a Kumu hula. You don't start hula thinking that you're gonna then sit here one day talking about your experience as a Kumu hula. And so it's a little odd to sort of reflect on all of it and to try to come up with words to express all of it. Hula has been an unbelievable journey. It has led me through ups and downs, mostly ups. And so, yeah, mahalo.
Oh, I have a message. Anyway, sorry, my mind went helter-skelter there for a second. Where are we? You know, I don't remember very much about my ūniki either. Ours was our first class, Mikey's first class, was an experimental class. And so many things were not explained to us. Like, you know, we knew that there were certain foods that we were going to eat and that there was going to be a ceremony. But when it came to intricate things like why we do this, why the pig is faced a certain way, and why at a certain time it's important that you be all around the imo or anything like that, or how to put a show together. I remember that when I graduated, I felt like I was at a loss because I didn't know as much as I felt I could know or should know. And I know because you guys are so young as well, but if you could break it down maybe in as little time as possible or as much time as you want, how were the first, and you may have already answered the question, but how were the first 5 years for you? Because I wanted to say 10, but I think we'll just go with 5. So how about we'll start with that? And Keala, I'll start with you.
Yeah, the first 5 years were probably the funnest 5 years, simply because, I was a young boy, kind of having a lot of fun, and traveling. I got to travel quite a bit, but learning a lot. I was just a sponge. I wanted to learn, I wanted to engage, and I was seeking a deeper meaning around what I was doing in halal and as a Hawaiian. And so it was really an outlet for me to express myself through dancing with Halau Nakamale and Robert, but also dancing with the brothers Cazimero, and that being such a fun part of a lot of different things. So yeah, the first 5 years, I mean, I have wonderful hula brothers. If you're not part of a halal, join one. Well, maybe not. Think about joining one. Think about it hard. But, I have some really wonderful hula brothers that, they really take care of you, but they really keep you in line too. And so that whole experience was amazing. And hula extends, and our halal extends beyond Robert. If you're part of Halau Nakamale, you are really part of the Cazimero family. And if you know a little bit about the Cazimero family, I mean, what a beautiful experience. And so, quite the journey.
Okay. We were laughing just because we were like, 5 years since you started halal, or 5 years since we graduated?
Anywhere you want to go.
Okay. So we've covered that. I don't remember my first 5 years of halal because that was 40 years ago. But I'm pretty sure it was like yours, all wonderful. And then graduating, so mine was a little different because we were the second ūniki class. Although I wasn't a part of the first ūniki class, the 5 graduates, all Kumu hula of that class, were assigned one of us, sort of like their aide. And so in a sense, we went through the process with them, which, of course, at the time, I had no idea why. And then years later, figured out, oh, that's why. And thank goodness, because it made all the difference. And so the first ūniki that we went through as Olapa, I mean, we did a lot. I think the ho'ike was like an hour and a half, and we just zipped in and out of doing numbers and eras and songs and islands. It was a lot, because we truly needed to show our expertise in being Olapa. That was a great experience. And then 3 years later, so I think that's an interesting story for me because, like I said, there were 6 of us in our Olapa class. And then 3 years later, Robert spoke to Brad. He's the other Kumu hula from my class. And he just pulled us aside one day and said, oh, okay, so I've decided I'd like to graduate you as Kumu hula, and this is what needs to happen, and this and this and this. So we're like, oh, okay. Right? There was that initial shock. And then we're thinking, okay, the process can take a while. We got to make oil. We got to make a drum. That's going to take a long time. And then he said, oh, no, this is going to be this June. And this was like in March. And so that was quite a shock. But, again, it's not for you to ask why or how or what. You just do. You jump, you fly, whatever. And so we did that. And after that, I think when you graduate as a Kumu hula, everybody looks at it as, wow, you've done it. And then deep down on the inside, you're thinking, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And I think that pressure comes from, well, one, who our Kumu are. Because we come from pretty great Kumu. Sorry, we're a little biased, but the expectation is high. And the bar is high. And so to take that on is quite a kuleana. So experiencing that within the first 5 years, I mean, like I said, I didn't go anywhere. I continued in halal, but my responsibilities became much more. I took on teaching the new classes. So I like to think of it as anybody that came in after I graduated, you had to get through me first to get into halal. And I know that's a kuleana. Yeah, it's an unreal feeling just because you know there's a lot there and everybody just expects you to have it, but deep down inside you're thinking, there's so much more I gotta learn. Yeah, so that was good. Of course it's all good. Yeah, it's all good because it kind of takes care of itself over time as well. I mean, you can do all you want, but as most of you here, I'm sure, are hula people, you know you don't plan out hula things. They happen in its own time. And I think that's the most, one of the most challenging things to have to deal with, because as much as you want it to happen in your head, it doesn't exactly work out that way.
Tag. Like Bong, I didn't go anywhere after ūniki except on my own little journey in my head. I didn't walk away from halal completely or start my own or do anything like that. That was not the step that I chose to take. And I think I did feel absolutely I know nothing. I kind of hope that everyone feels that way. I feel like that's what happens if you do it right. And if you don't have that in your head when it's all over, then I would be very careful with where you go next. I did feel like I knew nothing. I also had a bit of an identity crisis because I didn't necessarily now just want to be a Kumu hula as the only identifying tag that I had in that moment. I wasn't ready to let go of being a dancer and of being all these other things. I think a lot of us fight that as well. But I also knew that this was maybe the only chance I would get to walk away or to have an identity crisis and say, okay, what does this really mean? Who am I now? And I remember it was the first 2 years, I let myself explore a new space, a new relationship with hula itself, a new relationship with my kumu, with my hula sisters and my hula family. I tried to say no to things, which was new because I can't really say no ever, but I pretended like I could. I was like, oh, look, now I can say no. No, Mary Monarch, no. You wanna come on this trip? No. You're gonna go to Festpac and do this? No. And I did a lot of knowing for my first 2 years after graduating as Kumu. But I still showed up to class every week and I said yes, in my own ways, to a certain set of the choices, if you will. I don't know if that was a great decision or not. I may regret that later. But I don't like to regret anything in life. So it was what it was. I decided to choose a little differently for some things and choose exactly the same for others, and then explore some new spaces. And even before ūniki, I had been starting to help in other ways with halal, in being asked to do a little bit more than a regular dancer role. There's so much in that just to unpack on learning about yourself when you're put in positions to do things. Okay, a lot of my hula thoughts, they automatically go back to everything that you're given is like, on the surface, it's all about you, right? It's like, I'm giving you all of this so that you can grow and you can learn and you can develop and you can look better and you can think better and you can all this. And if you get that and you can wrap your brain around it and embody it, then you've taken, like, you may think it's the step. You've figured it out. You took the step, you mastered it. Honey, no, that's like the baby like stool to realize the staircase that goes in front of you. Because it's really, you don't really get to it until you realize it is absolutely not about you. That the real learning begins when it's about everyone else. A lot about the people who you can't see, people who aren't there, and the little ones that are behind you, the the ancient superheroes in front of you and the fledgling babies coming up behind you. And that I did not know how to put myself in that context fully until the aftermath of ūniki. When you think you should have figured it all out in order to, now I'm at this level. Now I know everything. Oh, crap. Now I know nothing. Who am I? Where am I? How do I fit in? And do I belong? And do I want to belong? And if you can stick with it to answer those questions and not totally alienate yourself from your family, then I think you deserve to try to keep going. And there is, I think, a very, for us up here, a knowing of our family and learning that and our place in that, which makes this, mean something and make it make sense now in the space that we're in.
Okay, first 5 years. For us, I mean, I started in 1976. We didn't ūniki until 2009. So I was kind of old already. Yeah. I'm old now. But I was already old when we ūniki'd. And there was a big bunch of us. There were 13 of us. And when you have that many people ūniki'ing as Kumu, for me, you cannot help but, there's people who are good at this and good at that and good at that. Oli, mele, just olelo. I wasn't great at any of those. The only thing I felt I was good enough in Allah's eyes was just dancing. Yeah. Not realizing once you kumu, you don't dance. That was really hard. And for the first 5 years, we didn't dance. We got up once in a great while to show what she was looking for to the other students, for us to help them. But when for me, I just longed to dance. Thank goodness for Rob that he allowed me to dance with him. So he's been a Kumu for me as well. He's taught me many things that I treasure to this day. But as far as ūniki goes, so when it came to 5 years, I told myself I needed to be more than just a ho'opa. And that's when we decided to do our own halau. But being in a halau as well, it's a huge commitment, especially when you're in a halau that they do all this stuff that I loved doing with Allah. I mean, I was so dedicated. I was going to be at everything she wanted me to be at. But when you're in a halau for that long, you see hula sisters get married, have kids, come back. They got families, they got jobs. They cannot do this, they cannot do that. So we thought, because I have another Kumu that is my partner in a halau, we decided to make a halau where it's not so rigid that if you got to work or you got family obligations, okay. Because we want the joy of just dancing for you to be able to do that. So if we can't do a Merry Monarch, no problem. I don't need to do Merry Monarch. I just want to see the joy of dancing hula on the faces of our students. I want to see them want to learn, yeah, and not have to stress about all the stuff that we stressed about when we were young. And I get it. It's culture, and it does take dedication. But there's a certain bunch of ladies that need a little bit more leeway. So that's what I chose. That's what we chose to do as a halal. So we've been in existence for 10 years now. And it's worked out for us. We do enough things. Yeah. Again, for me, it's the joy of seeing them dance, even if they don't really dance good. You know, the goal is to try to get them there and let them feel beautiful. Let them feel like, wow, this is great. And I don't have to stress because I cannot come next week. You know, so it's a different way of having a halal. We do our cultural things when we can, when Auntie Vicky, when Uncle, sorry, when Rob, sorry, Rob.
Thank you. Moving, no.
When he asks us to do things, I mean, we're all for the cultural stuff. But again, we want to make sure that when we do those things, we want to do it right. And the good thing about that is we have resources that we can go to and ask, should we do it this way? Is this the correct way? Don't be afraid to ask. Better ask than doing it just because you want to do it and it's not right. Yeah. Know who you can go to, which pretty much I can ask anybody here. Yeah. All my hula titas, they'll help me. So when you become a kumu, don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah, maybe you're supposed to know it, but don't be afraid to say, I don't know, can you teach me? Because I didn't know. And that's, for me, that's a big thing. So.
Great. Hula is the art of Hawaiian dance, expressing everything we hear, see, smell, taste, touch, and feel. It is the mantra that we who are of Maiki have learned and keep very close to our hearts. The other part of that is that hula is life. And when my class graduated back in 1857, one of the things that Maiki told us before the ūniki was that just because you will be graduating as kumu hula doesn't mean that I expect you to become kumu, to start teaching. Because some of you, and almost prophetically, she said, some of you will do language, some of you will do other things, other tangents that will lead from being a Hawaiian and from becoming an even better Hawaiian. Whether it's hula, preparation of food, whether it's voyaging, all of this will lead back to what is important for you. But to be able to have this being a kumu hula is part of your personal, what you've gained through your personal work. For myself, that wouldn't have happened if somebody like Maiki hadn't seen something in me already. It wouldn't have happened for any of you that are teachers if you hadn't seen that in students such as those that you see before you. I think that continuation is, of course, very important. But many years ago, my friend in Japan, our friend in Japan, Hide, wanted to do this thing called Pan-Pacific Hula Exhibition. And I remember at that time, Bung was there, Fern was there, Vicky's son Jeff was there. I don't think you were there, Sky, at the time. But I remember walking into the kitchen area and these kids, like those kids over there, because you're all younger than me, like those kids over there too, are talking together. And I'm looking at the fact that they are from different teachers from our teacher, but they are all related because of who we come from. And therefore, it puts them into a kind of group where you can share with each other, or even more importantly, learn from each other. And I want you to know that that doesn't stop at this age. It doesn't stop when you become a Kumu hula. Because in my life, when I think of the three of us, there's Vicky, who started with Mikey when she was 5 years old. My life comes into Mikey when I'm just getting out of high school. Michael Pilipang comes years after that. So we each experience something different about Mikey. Therefore, as we're talking, questions like listening to all of you now, questions are being answered that we had at the very beginning that we never could find the answer for until now. Being able to have groups like these, being able to know that we all belong to each other in a certain way, that if we need to have somebody to talk to ask to, that we have that available right here, outside this room. But for them to have it with each other, especially after I'm gone, especially after we're gone, to know that they're going to be okay. Because if our generation has done our jobs, like how Mikey them did, then we've given them great lessons, great weapons to use to continue the fight. In everything that we hear, see, smell, taste, touch, and feel. Sometimes I forget about the feeling, even though that's one of the most important things. But I know you know what I mean. I know you do. And that's what's so neat about it. And that's why this is important. And that's why I want to tell you guys too. Oftentimes we all get so wrapped up in what we do that we forget to take a moment to reflect like this. I'm doing this more for me than I'm doing it for them. Because I want to hear it. Because I don't know whether I ever will. I'm sure, like me and them, we have questions that we wish we could ask all our teachers or all our parents. I would like to ask my mother and father how they met. I know how they left. But I'd like to know how they met. Who was fooling around with who? I know that too now. But it's good to know. Because then we tell them, and they can tell them theirs, and theirs can tell theirs. And that's, as you already know, how we live. By these stories. And that's why this is important. So as much as I did this for me today and then them, do it. Have your own little panels like this with your students or with your family. And even if they don't want to do it, make them. Use that parental thing. I'm your mother, you're in my house, you're coming. Get downstairs, class starts at 9 o'clock. Use it. Because at that time, it may seem very important, but never as important as it is right now. You're amazing beings, each of you. And you know, we have stories, all of us together. Some bad, some better. But all of them real. And all of them completely doused in love. And that's so cool, you know? And it's not superficial, like a stupid song like Nak Need Napua from Kailua. My dear classmate. But we have real songs, like the trilogy. You know, we have real songs like Puahihi. We have real people like Palani Vaughn. We can talk about them. Even if you didn't know them, you can talk about them because I and people like me have let you know who they are so that you can claim them. Because even more so now, we're going to need our heroes. We need our heroes. And it has to start with looking at us here now to know that each of us are heroes. And that's why this is important. And that's why when we were talking upstairs, I said to them, you know, if there's anything you don't want to say, you don't have to say it. It's up to you. Or if you want to say it, go ahead and say it, because what we're going to do, wait till we're 80? I only have 5 years. So I think there were some questions that were asked, And so I'm going to call my niece, Steffi. This is my niece, Steffi, my sister Jean's daughter, oldest daughter. And she has the list of questions that she's going to ask the panel, and I'm going to go listen because this is so, I mean, the first one was okay. This one? Shit, this is really good shit. This is good stuff. And so today, to all of you here, the students that you are and the teachers that we are, I hope you're eating it up. Steffi, you want this? Okay.
First, I think that you all answered most of the questions that have already been asked. And knowing each of you personally and knowing your journeys, I just want to thank you for the generosity of your sharing today, because it's been fabulous. One of the questions was to each of you, what was the biggest challenge in the ūniki process for you, and what did you learn about yourself through that process?
I guess I go first again. Well, I think there were a lot of challenges involved with ūniki. I think the first is just getting over the fact that you've been asked to be part of an ūniki, and that it's happening in like 2 months. Nah, I'm just kidding. But just the fact that you're being asked is like, oh my gosh, really? Because like I said, you don't start this journey thinking that you're going to be in this position one day where you don't even know what you're going to be doing, whether you're going to be ho'opa'a, whether you're going to be olapa, certainly not kumu hula. And so just getting over that shock is like, okay, got over that. But I think it's really putting yourself in the right mindset, physically, mentally, spiritually, surrendering yourself to that process and trusting in your kumu that it'll be okay. Just don't worry. It'll all be good. I think getting prepared for that and giving yourself time to allow yourself to be ready for that experience, and not just be ready for it, but to embrace it, to enjoy it, to try to remember every little piece of information, to embrace all of the experiences that are shared with you, and just living in that moment. Time flies, and we all have busy lives. We all have things going on outside of hula, whether it's family, whether it's work, and being in the moment and being present and really allowing yourself to enjoy that, I think can be challenging. But yeah, those are just a few.
Thank you. That was so nice. Honestly, what was challenging about ūniki? Everything. Everything. And I say that with all respect because we believe hula is life. And so ūniki doesn't happen in a vacuum. Hula doesn't happen in a vacuum. While you're going to class every Sunday or whatever the frequency is and however many hours, it's still intertwined in your life that continues to go on. Work doesn't say, oh, you're going through ūniki? Let me give you less responsibility. It just doesn't work like that. And so I think, and again, it's all respect, because that's what we know in hula. Hula is life. It doesn't just happen. Hula is, oh, nice box with a pretty bow on it. It happens along with everything else. Throwing ūniki on top of that, it makes it much more challenging. But those challenges are also part of the ūniki process. Because if you don't go through those challenges, something's wrong, right? And so, yeah, ūniki, it's not meant to be we're going to take you through this process and you're going to graduate and teach a new class. It just doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And so, but it's worth every single moment, because you cannot help but grow in the process. And then, here's the kicker, the growing does not ever stop after that. Okay, I'll stop there. Your turn.
Besides the sleep deprivation, that number one right there, I still remember that feeling. Besides that, I think it's letting go of what you want. That's not unique to ūniki. Not unique to ūniki. That's a life lesson that, got it? That's one that can be learned anywhere, but I think as little or as much as you think you know about what's gonna happen to you and what you're gonna get or not get, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're thinking something, that you have an opinion, and that it's really not your place to have an opinion. That if you want that opinion to manifest, you should get out now. You should leave. This is not for you. Hula is not for you. The time that you do get an opinion is when you actually don't want it. The time you're given what you want is when you stop wanting it. That, I think, was the lesson that I'm reminded of constantly as I think about ūniki process. Letting go of the me, letting go of my own desires and my wants, and letting it happen. Letting other things, other people, other energies choose and put me in the right place, wind me up and let me go. And you can do that on varying levels of consciousness too. You can be fully aware of that as being what's happening to you, or you can have no idea that that's happening to you until years later, and then you're like, oh, that's what was going on. Crap, I wish I had realized it. And that will greatly affect, I think, your emotional roller coaster that you ride in your process.
Well, they said everything. So I'm going to tell you, for me, ditto on everything they said, okay, because it's like that. I'm going to tell you my memory of our ūniki is that I couldn't ow for a whole day. I was like, ugh. You know, I figure I'd tell you something that I remember. It was just, you know, not really. So as soon as I could ow, boy, did I jump in that shower. But that, you know, because it's 24 hours, right? And you jump in the water, salt water, and you go through all your little things and do your stuff. Then you go to bed in a nice, clean bed that you think is clean. But, you know, I really remember that. Let's just say that. Sorry. They said everything that you need to know. So I thought I'd just tell you my memory. One memory of when we ūniki, that I was like, oh my God.
Did you have a bed? We didn't have.
No, the kind blow up air kind.
I was gonna say, wow, you guys had beds.
We didn't have a bed. We had. Yeah, but that was my only ūniki. That's all I knew, right? So.
And the last question will be similar to the one we asked. And we're going to start with Sky. Knowing what you know now, what would your advice have been to you as a hula dancer starting? Your first year starting hula, what would your advice be to that same person, Sky to Sky?
Wow, that's a hard question. Well, because to me, for someone starting hula, if you don't really have the want, then you're not going to learn. You're only going to learn what you want. You got to have the want. And I had the want because it took 15 years before I could even take a hula class. So I was so hungry for hula, I wanted everything that Allah could give me. Yeah, and so for ūniki, you just go with it. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Okay, I have three things. Number one would be smile. I'm not good at that one. Number two, sometimes. Number two is take better notes. I'm terrible at that one. Terrible at that one. I forget what number three was now. I guess it's not important. Yeah, we'll just stop there.
Yeah, that's kind of the same as mine. Immediately I thought, keep your hula book in check. Because by the time we got to ūniki, it was like, oh, pull this out. And I was like, can I see yours? Yeah. Do everything you're supposed to do in the time it's supposed to be done.
Ditto to what they all said, especially the smiling part. It's like, smile, relax, bro. And get a binder, keep a book. Be a better student. You know, I probably was the worst student, but yeah, I think, and enjoy it, have fun.
Well, I got you, because you might have to talk.
Sing a song.
Well, I don't need this. I'm going to save this last part, other than thanking each of you very much for being here. I'm going to come over there because I'm going to talk to them. Let's see. I'm going to save you for last. And you're the baby, so I'll take you. I still believe that if it wasn't for Mikey, as far as my hula life is concerned, and aspects of life in general, I would be where I am today, if it wasn't for her. Because of the years that I've been allowed to be a part of this rotating planet, I've learned so much from the four of you. I've learned good stuff. I've learned stuff that I know I could be better at. I've learned such great joy that I thought I knew. And I have been able to recapture loving souls that at first I thought wasn't worth my time. I'm really grateful that you trust me enough. I'm not going to look at you folks right now. I'm going to look out at the door. That you would do something like this. This is very brave. And because of your bravery, you can do it too. Not only can you do it, we have to do it. You have to do it. You must do it. For your family, for yourselves, and for us. That phrase of it's a Kaka'ako thing seems very trite at times. I love that word, trite. It reminds me of my 9th grade vocabulary teacher. Anyway, it seems very trite, but it's really true. And it seems minute as well. You're brave, the four of you. I'm so happy that in this lifetime we found each other again. And thank you for helping me not let go. And because of the four of you, allowing me to meet this. So ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me thank these four?